18.
18, quarter of a year, I think.
It feels like that. It feels like that anyway. But no,
it's over a quarter of a year, I think. Actually.
Is it?
Yeah, quick, really quick, slow maths.
Nice one, mate.
Yeah, cheers.
We got more news for you this week as usual, and then we're going to get into some Ripple versus SEC as we normally do at the end as well.
Yeah,
Just only a little bit on that, but
it's
quite important news that's come out obviously this week because we've got a bit more of insight in terms of the timeline, and we've got a bit more, what's going on, what's coming. But we'll get into that. But we'll start off with this, like we promised we were going to report on because we recorded, I think, a bit early, So the CPI numbers came out and it was an 8.5. So
it's looking good.
Forecast was obviously 8.7, if you didn't know. Which is obviously, like we'll put here, 0.2 lower than expected. Markets did react quite positively.
Very positively.
We had a little pump, to be fair. I think it went up to like 4% at one point, something around that. Markets, even today, are still in the green, so it's a bit...
Yeah, today's going to be an interesting day. Like, I'd like to see how the American markets react today. Yesterday, I think, they went up to maybe a few percent up. I think they finished like 2.5% up, which obviously very good day in terms of stocks and shares, or around 2% maybe. Today, it looks like pre-market is opening green, but again, like, it's a long day. Let's see what happens towards the end of the day, but coming in 0.2% lower than expected is the first time in 4 months, and it's also a huge decrease from the last month, which came in at 9.1. If it comes in at 8.5, it's like 0.6 reduction year over year from the June to July numbers, or July to August numbers even.
Yeah, and we're technically at 0% inflation, mate.
So it's Joe Biden.
According to Joe Biden himself, just constantly lying to himself. But no, it's good news. We expected it. We said this obviously on the weekly roundup like a few weeks ago. We thought something like this would happen, just due to the price of oil and how that's kind of been tanking. Well, not tanking, but on a downtrend anyway, and it still is. So let's just. For me, I'm still keeping an eye on oil in terms of what we think is going to happen for the next CPI read. I think we'll probably get maybe a similar level to where we are now in terms of where I sit right now, but we're only on the 11th of August. But so after, like I said, we have to see what happens with oil. Can't really make a justification right now because it's not even halfway through the month. But
there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot of bills getting passed, and that's what we're going to speak about next. I don't really know how to think about this because I'm sure everyone's seen this right now. There's a $740 billion Inflation Reduction Act which has been passed already, so which is a lot of money. Like, okay, look, I'm just gonna put it out there. Like, we were speaking about this off camera, and we compared all these bills to the meme that you get. Obviously, there's like a boat sinking, and they're just trying to scoop it out, whatever, with some water. Everyone's probably seen
the water's coming in faster.
That is what I feel like is happening right now. I feel like they're just going for a one last like hurrah kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, they don't have a lot of choice. Like, they don't have a lot of choice.
They don't. I feel like they've got to the point where they know that they're going down in terms of like power of the dollar or whatever. So I feel like, look, let's just get as much as we can out of it, and
mad.
It's mad. It's crazy.
740 billion. Let's print $740 billion to address the problem that we've printed too much money. Yeah.
This is what I mean. So like, obviously it's inflation reduction, but QE creates inflation. No matter what Joe Biden says or whatever these guys are telling themselves, it does create inflation. That's why we are. That's why we're in the position we are now.
They obviously focused on like supply chains, which has been an issue. That's obviously been a reason for inflation. But now, like, I can kind of see why they're doing it. Like, if you've got like massive inventory, people aren't spending money. Like, give them some money, spend the money, get rid of the inventory, and then let's see what happens after that. But it's kind of like, it's just a bit ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, we've got obviously this one here as well, this $280 billion one here, and then you just brought this to my attention. I didn't actually have a clue that this was going on.
This third one's been kind of like brushed under the carpet a little bit, but there was a Build Back Better bill that was going to be signed in like November of last year, I think. It was $2 trillion, and they've kept putting it off, and obviously Congress are on recess now, and they brought it down to $800 billion, and it's not the bill that you've seen, and it's not been signed in yet, but it's about to get signed in my opinion, as well, which I think will probably come in before in midterms. I think it gives every American $300 a month for 3 months.
So yeah,
so it's another $800 billion on top of the $740 billion on top of the $280.
Literally,
billion.
like you said this, I think over a month ago now. Midterms obviously coming up. They're going to be doing stuff, and here we are sitting in the middle of August. They're passing bills left, right, and centre. They're trying to make the Americans happy. They're trying to feed them with positive data now, trying to almost like fit the sentiment almost in the markets, but long term, it's a recipe for disaster. I think everyone knows that. Everyone can kind of see it. Doesn't take a genius to work that out. But short term, there's money to be made off it in terms of like trades.
You'll see all-time highs.
This is what I mean. But this is what I mean. Like everyone's obviously still stuck in that. Oh, we've got another leg down, which I don't necessarily disagree. I think obviously we are going to crash. Possible. Like if you look at everything, it's just the biggest bubble ever. Do you know what I mean?
There's a lot of ways we could see it leg down as well. Like if China like going to Taiwan, what does that mean?
That's what I mean. Like, there's obviously stuff that outside like QE that can happen that will just like negate all that kind of stuff and just throw the markets down, which.
You heard it here first, guys. You heard it here first, and I said it last month, and I've said it the last few weeks. I think, personally, we're going to see all-time highs.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of things pointing towards that. I think that this rally is going to be more than people think, because I think, like everyone says, you have the like return to normal rally, and I think a lot of people are still sitting on the sidelines because they think they're going to wait for another low. I think when we start to see retracement levels, people will jump into the market. Then I think that the Fed, by this time, bear in mind we don't have an FOMC meeting for 2 months. The Fed have always said that they're going to stimulate if something breaks, or they're not going to really change monetary policy until something breaks. Actually, I'm writing deeply about this in our newsletter right now that's coming out on Sunday. We're going to release it every week on Sunday. But the Fed have been saying, look, we're not going to do anything until something changes, and we're data dependent. But by 2 months' time, something's going to have cracked in the data, in my opinion. Credit markets, I don't know. Housing markets, I don't know. Something, I think the job markets probably, because the job markets, they're printing strong at the minute, but like I talked about in the newsletter, this is something to definitely keep your eye on, is why is GDP decreasing if the job market's the job market's going up, GDP is decreasing, so what does that mean? The people who are coming into employment are like underperforming, or the output's not good enough? I don't know, like something doesn't add up, and I think by then we'll know what it is, and we'll see a break, and that break will then lead the Fed to change their stance on monetary policy. Maybe not like print or ease straight away. They might say like, look, let's just do a 0.25 or a 0.5 and bring it down slowly. But then if things are actually breaking, they're going to reverse policy, and they're going to start pumping money back into the system. And then on top of that, if you want to put your tinfoil hat on, Congress still holding all their stocks. So I think we see it blow off top.
Yeah. Just to add to that point that you're on about, I've just moved it. We're also going to speak about this later on, but talking about the job market, I was watching this interview today actually about Peter Schiff. He was on Keto News, just speaking about, obviously he's a massive like bear. He is like not just on crypto, like he just thinks that everything's just kind of messed up, which it is, like he's not wrong. But he touches on employment, and he talks about, obviously we had these big numbers come out, when was it, 2 weeks ago, something like that, that employment rose by 528,000 jobs, but it turns out of that 303,000 were part-time jobs. And he also makes a point that the amount of Americans working 2 jobs right now is at all-time highs. So he's kind of saying that these numbers are slightly skewed in the fact that they're not actually showing a healthy job market. They're actually showing a bit more desperation from the US population, which kind of lends itself to what you're thinking. Because obviously the Fed can see this information as well. Yeah. They are very much aware that, and the way that they've like portrayed that information to the public, and they try to make it like it's some big positive news. They know deep down it's not actually as good as it actually seems.
Something's wrong.
So that's what I mean, and they know that as well. So it kind of also negates that narrative that everyone's kind of saying that obviously if employment's still fine, they can keep tightening. So it kind of is the employment market good? You've also got the housing market to think about as well. They don't want that to go down the pan, because as soon as that happens, everything kind of follows. It just spells disaster. And obviously,
credit market, people have maxed out on their credit, and it's costing more to borrow money when people don't have any. So it's like that's a massive thing about putting interest rates up, is people now on the edge. Like if you're saying that people have got 2 jobs and are already desperate, you're putting interest on their credit up, and they're already maxed out on their credit.
This is what I mean. It's just like
it's about to go bang.
It's about to go bang, and I feel like all these bills that are getting passed right now is the last bit of fuel that they're adding to the fire before it explodes. Like that's the kind of best analogy that I can kind of put it through, because that's the thoughts that are going through my head at the moment. But if we can, get another rally off this, like I'm not going to complain too much, because obviously there's opportunities out there.
There is opportunities out there. Like if we play this market well, and if it does what we think it's going to do, you can make a shitload of money now. Yeah, absolute shit ton of money.
I know, but like I feel like you said, I think a lot of people are missing out because they're just so now regimented in the fact that we're going to go down for another leg. They've just been absolutely pounded with negative information for the past 3 months now, and it's hard to kind of reverse that mentally for people like us who are just kind of like trading casually.
Yeah. But I also think that it's not like written in stone. Like we're not necessarily right here.
It's
like
not.
it is hard. Like it's a real hard jigsaw to piece together, and I'm piecing it together with everything that I see. But it doesn't mean that my perspective is right. Just as it doesn't mean that someone who's a complete bear is right. Like it's so hard to know which way to be right now, and this is why we've said every week, and we actually still haven't really changed that. Like I was speaking to my dad, and we invest a lot together as well. I said to him, look, we're talking about. We don't want to miss out on the ETH run because I think ETH is probably going to pop, especially if the ETH merge goes well. But again, there's that option that it might not. But it's like, I'm not going to buy in at these prices. I've got my cash ready on the side if we do have that drop that we're talking about. And that's when I'll start to purchase. Until then, my bags are packed and I'm going to offload on the way up. And that's the way that I'm playing it. But I actually genuinely do think, like, speculation aside, like my actual personal opinion of what I think will happen is I do think we'll see a new all-time high in the S&P before we see a big retracement, and I genuinely think we'll see one in crypto as well.
Yeah.
Don't know for Bitcoin specifically. I do think Bitcoin pushes on very high, look up towards at least retracement levels like 702, 786, but whether it goes past that, I don't know. It depends what the market sentiment is and depends on regulation in the US, in my opinion.
Yeah, you have to keep. It's one of them. You have to almost have to play it by ear at this point. Like, obviously, everyone tries to make their long-term predictions, which is what you've done there, and obviously I'm in the same boat as well. But
it's not for sure, though.
Isn't for sure.
It's not for sure at all.
Like, we could just go down to like 3K, like a lot of people are shouting
Literally.
about within the next couple of months. Who knows?
Anything could happen because we don't know what's broken in the economy. That's what I think the major issue is here. We don't know what's broken in the economy and whether it's fixable / even put like a bandage over it.
Yeah.
Like we don't know. Like if you use the analogy of like a human body or whatever, we don't know if like the bottom half of the body's been cut off.
That's what
we don't know. Like if it's just a broken leg, you can probably fix it. But if the legs are missing, we've got a blooming problem, innit?
They just give them more money, just inflate it a bit more, like they're doing right now. But scary times.
It's scary, but I'm excited too because like there's a lot of opportunity out there. Like both ways. Like if it comes down, you got cash ready. Yeah, it's a longer process before you make more money, but there's a big opportunity to scoop up a lot of stuff when it comes down. If it goes up, which I think it will first, you have the opportunity to take profit, and then if it comes down, you can build some big serious positions,
serious wealth out of
big positions.
Whether it's in crypto or anything like, you know what I mean? It'll give you that kind of facility to do so. But we'll move on from that because it's a very doom and gloom. I'm sure we'll have something to talk about in terms of like that next week as well. But this kind of relates to the bills because it was 87,000 new jobs within the IRS.
It's like 8 billion funding for them and 87,000 new jobs.
So it's a lot of money going into the IRS, and these guys are basically in charge of collecting tax, right, in the US. So obviously everyone's kind of like
crapping themselves.
Yeah, they are. There's no other way to put it. Everyone's kind of like panicking a bit in terms of what this means for crypto, what it means for the markets in general. Because, like I said, I feel like everyone's in that negative sentiment. So when something comes out like this, everyone's just going to see the negative side of it instantly. And like, I'm sure you're going to go into your point anyway about how it could potentially be not as bad as everyone think it is. But like a lot of people I've seen on Twitter kind of saying that they're going to be clamping down on crypto a bit in terms of tax. They're going to be really like clamping down on these crypto institutions, which they might be. But your point is...
I basically think that like at the minute, there's obviously not a lot of regulation around crypto. It's pretty hard to know what you're going to do. It's probably different state by state in the US anyway. But what's coming at some point is crypto regulation. When that regulation comes, they're going to need people to enforce the new rules, whether that's on institutions or on the everyday consumer, which obviously with 87,000 staff members, a lot of them are going to be towards like retail investors anyway. But they're going to have to implement new rules. They're going to have to learn new rules. They're going to have to implement them because they're not going to be able to keep track of everybody. What is it? 25% of Americans own crypto. So, and how many people are there in America? Like 400 million? 360 million?
That's what I mean.
So, there's, in my opinion, 25% of that, 100 million people, 87,000 staff members for that many people. I don't think that's not that many. No. Like, especially when it's completely new rules, people are going to have questions left, right, and centre. Yes, it is not great on the front of it, and like if I was in America right now, I wouldn't be sitting there thinking, "Oh, great, like this is amazing news." But at the same time, if you actually look through it, why do you need 87,000 staff members? Probably because you're going to introduce some new rules.
That's what I mean. It's a completely different financial market. It's big. It's not nothing small. Like obviously, it's not as big as like the financial markets or whatever they're dealing with at the moment, but it's still a massive chunk in terms of added onto the workload. So
yeah, because people don't know how to track it yet. Like the financial markets we've got at the minute, it's almost completely trackable because they know where all the money is. But this is like a new space completely. They're gonna have to train 87,000 people to like be able to use the blockchain properly, like be able to track transactions through TXIDs. Not many people even know how to do that anyway.
No.
So it's going to take a lot of time. But my prediction would be on this, again, is some more speculation for you and take it how you will, is that if and when this happens, it's going to be a serious lag until they kick it into action. Let's say, look, I think we do have a new all-time high to come for crypto, like I said. I think that new all-time high could come anywhere between like your end of September all the way up to like, let's say March, April of next year. But these regulators, let's even say they come in next month, it's going to take six months to at least a year, if not 2 years, to train them into how to like understand the tax system for crypto, like to understand the tax laws themselves, but also be able to track people's crypto as well. So you're looking at like a year or 2 years before they can even do anything.
No, I agree with that. I definitely do.
So it gives us a space to run. And I understand that in this example, using Crypto Logic John, I actually shout out to my guy because I do like him a lot. But we just have a bit of a different opinion, which is obviously fine, and it shows you how different everyone thinks in this market, doesn't it?
Yeah, this is what I mean.
But that's just my opinion on what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's like a ridiculous statement anyway. It does make sense when you do talk about it, do you know what I mean? Like I said, I personally didn't think that, even that didn't cross my mind until you like spoke to me about it. So this picture is cracking me up. I can't keep a straight face. I don't know why it's making me crease, but
it's because he's got a ledger with like bare Bitcoin on it, bro.
He creases me. But no, obviously this news came out as well a couple of days ago. Pretty big this is, because this is something I kind of see happening, like I've seen maybe predicted this like happening like a while ago. Obviously big countries making massive trades here, $10 million right here in foreign trade order, like I think it was on imports or something like that. And I think they even came out after this and said it's not just like a temporary thing, they're going to be doing it.
Yeah, I saw something like that, basically saying they're going to introduce crypto for cross-border payments.
And like it makes sense because obviously it's completely like obviously decentralized, it's quicker, it's more efficient. So why they haven't been using this in the past, obviously it's a completely different topic. But like it's good to see Iran, who, like I said, they're not a tiny country, are they?
No, they're a big country. I mean,
not the biggest, but.
Like people don't love Iran, but they're a big country, they're a big economy, and they're going to be moving a lot of money with crypto.
That's what I mean, and I feel like a lot of people are going to see the benefits in this, and like everything I kind of go on about, when one person does it, when one country does it, a lot of people kind of catch on to it and are more friendly to doing it, if that makes sense. So
people just want to tap into the same market. Like if you're any sort of like country or any economy and you struggle to move money across border because it's dominated by a currency that's not your local currency, you're going to want to move it in the most efficient way for your economy.
Exactly, 100%.
So as soon as they see big economies doing that, they're going to copy.
What a better way than using like the crypto. But just thought I'd bring it up because I think, don't be surprised if you see, even within the next couple of months, a lot of other, maybe bigger countries also adopting like a similar strategy to Iran here in terms of doing their foreign trade in crypto. And
even if you're investing into XRP and Ripple, don't be put off by seeing like countries using Bitcoin to do this. Bitcoin's got the biggest and the most liquid market at the minute. Like, what's the market cap? Let's say 600 billion. If they want to move a huge amount of money, they can't really do it with XRP right now. Well, they can, it's possible, but it's easy to do it with Bitcoin. Institutions like are starting to recognize it. There's a big like liquidity pot there they can basically move in and out of. With XRP, you've got to start on the smaller countries, more liquid countries like they are at the minute, move the capital for smaller amounts, and then build up to those bigger pots, because yes, it's more efficient, it's better with XRP, but if the liquidity is not there, it needs to be built in. And then, so when you're seeing cross-border payments like this, okay, so this might be the first step. Okay, you move it with Bitcoin, it takes 30 minutes to confirm and cost you like 10, 15, 20, 30 pound a transaction for any amount. You move it to XRP, it's instant, almost 3-second settlement, and it costs you like 1 cent. So they're obviously going to move on to that over time when they just see which rails are better, in my opinion. But to start with, you're going to see, in my opinion, institutions tap into the liquidity of Bitcoin, because institutions and economies, like sovereign states, because it gives them, it's the only space that's got enough liquidity for them to even move money.
Yeah, and it's obviously a bit more like trustworthy in terms of, obviously, I'm not saying Ripple / XRP aren't, but obviously they've got the lawsuit on their case, which isn't helping it, but it's just more of a recognised, cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is, everyone knows what Bitcoin is nowadays. So.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, it's bullish, very bullish.
Very bullish.
And whilst we're on we'll go into Ripple now. At the end of every segment we do, Ripple is interested in acquiring bankrupt Celsius network assets.
This is interesting.
This is
very interesting.
Because obviously you made a TikTok saying like, wouldn't it be quite ironic if Ripple would turn out to become like a bit of a darling within the cryptocurrency space, picking up, just like Sam Bankman-Fried was doing. obviously a couple of weeks ago, Ripple are now kind of dipping their toe and acquiring like failing like companies like this, and Celsius are huge as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like we saw Brad Gardenhouse talk at Davos saying, which was like 2 months ago, saying that they were looking maybe acquisitions. They asked him, as in Ripple to get acquired, and he was like, no, we want to acquire some of the companies. I think a DeFi company is pretty good idea. Why do you want it? We can speculate on that. Maybe software, maybe the customer base. We don't really know. Well, we don't even know what the issues with the Celsius is, like balance sheet, etc. We don't know if this will go forward. We just know that Ripple have like written in to have a look, basically.
They're interested.
I personally speculated DeFi for CBDCs or some sort of DeFi option, but that's just literally pulling like information out my ass.
I feel like Ripple, if they're going to acquire a company, it's going to be in their best interest, obviously. So them using it to facilitate obviously their goals within Ripple, like if they want to use XRP or whatever they want to do, it's just going to be like, that's why they're going to do it.
And at one point, I think Celsius had like, well, I don't know if it was like 80 billion assets under management, so it's obviously a big customer base there as well.
Even to say that they're interested, it kind of tells me that maybe stuff isn't that bad within the Celsius network kind of thing situation.
It can't be that bad in the space in general, because otherwise they just wait for another collapse.
Exactly. If they really thought it was unsavable, they wouldn't obviously even come out and say that they're interested in it. If they do, they've obviously seen something, and they're obviously clever people who work there in terms of the people who are making this decision are really going to be high up. So
yeah, it's like it's a lot of money to play with. Like if you same with Bankman-Fried, there's been my thought process on it is like, if there is a further drop to come, they're not going to be deploying as much capital as they are, because you want to be holding your cash up, like by your side if you've got like a potential collapse coming, not like spending it left, right, and centre just on like a initial drop or whatever. So I think we've seen the worst of it. Maybe we set a lower low slightly, if anything, but I think we go up from here personally. But it's possible to set a slightly lower low, but I don't think we have a big capitulation that everyone's talking about, because otherwise institutions like this, like Ripple, your FTX, aren't going to be deploying mad capital here. They're going to let things go under, and then they're going to buy things for cheaper. Yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of TA out there that kind of suggests maybe another potential like retest of the low, maybe like you said, a slightly lower low, whatever, before the next like kind of blow off. But whether that comes, who knows? Like,
yeah, that's not my opinion, just for the record. But it's possible.
That's just another like scenario that a lot of people are speaking about in terms of like, I think they're just bringing in certain fractals. I think it was on Bitcoin, but who knows? Who knows what's going on?
I think ETH's going to lead this charge. ETH's going to lead the charge.
And with the merge, it feels like it's good timing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we're going to go pretty high, higher than people expect, and I don't know what high that might mean, but it breaks all-time highs for Ethereum, in my opinion, at least, like, and it could really rip.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts on it anyway.
A lot of people are bullish on ETH right now. Like, a lot of big names are.
There's a lot pointing towards positivity for ETH.
There is. And I guess we'll end with a good old SEC versus Ripple.
Yeah, it's not exactly a great
it's not as good as we normally kind of end it on, but obviously Ripple defendants have filed their response to the SEC rejection, which they made a couple of weeks ago, and basically within this they're just kind of saying like the emails must be showing this because of this. They keep going back on their word. Just the normal things you've heard. It's nothing surprising obviously at this point. But obviously Jeremy Hogan made a YouTube video about it today, and we watched it. Basically saying obviously they've got 7 days now to kind of reply / object or whatever to the George. Obviously it's going to George Netburn, right? This is now. So
Torres. It's going to
Torres, and then he's basically going through the timeline. Yeah. And it's not really great news.
No, so basically like the SEC got 7 days to now escalate this to Judge Torres. Matt Solomon, like his reply, which is one of Ripple's attorneys, he basically was backing up what Judge Netburn had said, saying like she's not done anything wrong. The SEC can't. The only thing they can do is they can prove that she's made a wrong decision. He's like, they're not done anything wrong, and you can't prove that. And basically, if it's a draw, it goes to Ripple anyway because she's already made that decision. Yeah. So now they've escalated that to Judge Torres. They've got, as you said, 7 days to get that reply into Torres, and then Torres has got as long as she wants to reply. Hogan says it will probably take her about a month because she'll go quite in depth on her reply. So after 7 days, we've got a month before Torres' reply, but then the SEC can apparently appeal that to Second Circuit or some bullshit like that, and that could take months.
Yeah, apparently. Which they will.
Which obviously
they are, because that's pretty much how it's going to play out. I can't imagine Torres kind of saying, almost second guessing Netburn's decision. I can't see that happening because it's kind of set in stone, like it's really black and white for me anyway. Obviously we're biased, but Can't see that happening. I can see obviously them appealing it further.
Yeah.
And Hogan kind of says obviously it pushes the
potentially
pushes the date of November
summary
15th,
judgment,
which is summary judgment back, because obviously there'll be no time for them to kind of get this obviously sorted out in time.
Yeah. So when Ripple get the reply or the response from, let's presume the response from Torres is similar to Netburn and the SEC do appeal, then that'll bring us to, like, let's say middle to the end of September. Summary judgment is the 15th of November. That's when they have to collect all their evidence and give it to the judge. The judge then makes her decision on some things she wants to summarise in the case, maybe the whole case itself. But if Ripple don't have the reply, if the SEC take it to the secondary circuit, Ripple won't have the reply to the Hinman emails. So then it's between Ripple and the SEC if they want to extend when the summary judgment is going to be, because Ripple might want that want that information as part of their evidence for the summary judgment, but they also might not. They might go ahead without and then use that information for when it comes to trial, because it will come at that point. So basically what's going to happen is we've got summary judgment on November the 15th. We'll see Judge Torres's reply within about a month and 7 days, so it was yesterday.
Yeah.
Ish. And when it goes to summary judgment, like I was saying to Pav earlier, Torres can still say, look, if they just go ahead with summary judgment, which I actually presume Ripple would do, I think it's in their best interest, because worst case it's just going to go to trial anyway.
Yeah.
Then they'll go ahead with it even without the Hinman emails. Obviously it's a weaker case for them then. We will have seen the library case settle. I don't know what's going to happen there. But what we'll see is the judge could literally say, okay, between 2013 and 2018 or 2017, potentially XRP was sold as security to raise money for Ripple or incentivize the network, but from 2018 onwards, and all the sales in the secondary market were not sales of securities. So that actually could free us, the XRP holders, John Deaton, from the case, and then they would go to trial and argue about those specific years. But what's happened in the last few years wouldn't be classed as securities. That is a possible scenario that Torres can basically deem from summary judgment.
Yeah.
And I presume if I was in Ripple's case, and I am not a lawyer, so this is just my complete speculation, that they would go ahead with that, because it's in Ripple's best interest to get this case done as soon as possible. Obviously, don't want to lose, but they're just stunting their own growth by being in the case. Ripple will be weighing up how much it's going to cost them to stay in the lawsuit, how much profit they're missing out on by not being able to operate in the US, all these sort of things. If there's an offer of settlement on the table, which I presume, the more pressure that comes on things like the Hinman email, etc., the more the SEC will want to settle anyway.
Yeah. Don't Ripple want an IPO as well before?
Yeah, Ripple want also an IPO, and they can't do that while they're under.
Yeah, so that's
they can't do it in the US anyway.
That's what I mean. So it's another reason for them to kind of not almost pursue the emails, which is what the SEC are kind of forcing the hand. Now, guaranteed they've obviously had this planned.
Yeah, that's snakes.
Do you know what I mean? They've obviously had this whole timeline planned out months ago. They knew exactly what was going to happen. They knew the processes, how long it was roughly going to take. They know Ripple are planning to IPO it around this certain amount of time, whatever. So they know they're clever people, aren't they?
Yeah, well, if you're in Ripple's position, though, surely you think, like I was just trying to say there, you think, yeah, okay, we're not going to get the Hinman emails till after the summary judgment. We'll file for summary judgment. Let's hope Judge Torres says something decent. Even if she says until 2020 they were securities, we'll argue about that in trial. We'll help all the XRP holders, get them all out of the case, and push comes to shove, we'll threaten to IPO in another country.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden Congress will be looking at it like, oh God, this is one of our biggest innovators. Yes, they're under a lawsuit or whatever, but we don't want them IPO in the UK or in Japan or anywhere in Europe. They're going to be like, look, let's get this case sorted out. But it's in the SEC's best interest, because if they think they're going to lose the case, which they obviously don't think they're going to win, otherwise they'd be trying to push it forwards as well. They obviously are unsure. It's in the SEC's best interest to keep this going as long as possible, so they can have other cases come and be finalised before the end of this case. Because once, and this is what Jeremy Hogan did say though, if they get the Hinman emails back from the secondary circuit, at some point that will be case precedent, so any other lawsuit can use that again against the SEC. So
they don't want that, really,
it's a bad thing for the SEC if it goes secondary circuit and then gets denied.
Yeah.
So it's a big risk from them to obviously appeal it to the secondary circuit, unless they can get a settlement in the time of that appeal to when the decision comes back. So between now and it goes to trial in March of 23, doesn't it? But between now and then, there's a lot of big decisions coming.
Yeah.
But I can't see anything huge happening until November, December.
No.
But if we get Torres denying the SEC's appeal, then they obviously appeal it to the secondary circuit. That will be positive for the XRP holders because then we know they've got to appeal it to secondary circuit. It almost puts a timer on the SEC. Like, you've got until this time. We're going to get.
There's no more pushing back.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no more of like this kind of stuff, delaying tactics that they've been doing for the past like year or so. Do you know what I mean?
And that could be incredibly bullish for the market.
Yeah.
It would come when ETH2 comes, Flare Networks.
And then God knows what the state of the market will actually be in at that time in terms of price points, everything we spoke about with the bills, etc., coming into play.
And then let's say they get the decision in the start of January, maybe February, and it's blow off top season, baby.
Could be.
$10 to $13 season, baby.
Could be. For the big crush.
Gee!
Before the crash.
Yeah, and then I'll take all my profits, I'll be super rich, and I'll buy Apple.
We should be chilling, watching this go up in flames.
But if you follow the Weekly Roundup podcast, you'll be sitting with us.
Yeah.
Chilling.
Yeah, that's if you believe in us, which I'm sure hopefully you do anyway, because...
Otherwise you wouldn't be watching this video.
Yeah, exactly. That's sort of news, because anyway, I don't know if you want to cover the charts. The charts are actually looking okay for once.
They've just opened, have they? No, opened in 15 minutes.
Where's your Bitcoin at? Oh, we'll go for
That's right, XR Pizzle.
Let's just see what's cracking. Oh, it was always different to one. Still trading the channel. I imagine we probably will be for a while. Mm-hmm. It's looking nicer than obviously last week and all the other prior weeks to it, but...
Yeah, I think last week was like in this area here.
Yeah.
And obviously that was when CPI started. If we go, I could take on the 4 hourly. Like when CPI came was here, it gave us that boost up.
Yeah.
And we then obviously rejected that high, and then we've actually just broken above the highs now. So that's looking pretty bullish. I'd like to see ETH just on one, bro. Like ETH needs to clear this region here. And then we're probably looking...
As soon as it clears that, it's go time.
Yeah, we're up to here. We're up to at least like 2.6, aren't we then? That's a big number, bro.
It breaks a lot of negative structure in terms of like technical analysis standpoint, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It does. And look where we are from the bottom. If we go from the bottom, we're already up.
That's actually crazy. That
116%.
That's actually nuts.
But everyone's like, we're up 116%. So you've missed, if you've been like waiting for a further bottom. A lot of people are sold out there as well, bro. Yeah. A lot of people sold out 800 thinking, oh yeah, we're going all the way down. You've missed a 116% move. And this is why retail investors get caught out, including us. Like, I'm not sitting here thinking like I'm a god investor. I've sat and held all the way down for this exact reason, because I know the bottom can just come in whenever.
Yeah.
Like, it's crypto. Like, anything can happen.
Literally.
And as we said yesterday, or as we said in loads of weeks, you need one piece of news and you take a big jump. And yesterday, you have the CPI reading and boom, it's 7%. It's a 7% move in an hour. 7.6% in 1 hour yesterday. And that's just an hour's move. Yesterday we had 11-12% move for Ethereum in general. Ethereum's only at $2,000.
It's crazy when you think about ETH. ETH's kind of not flown on the radar because everyone's really bullish on it, but I feel like the percentages of ETH compared to Bitcoin's kind of been brushed under the carpet a little bit in terms of no one's like, but 116% during this sentiment's crazy.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's what you need to add to it as well. But like everyone's really negative within the market. Yeah, ETH, which is obviously the second biggest crypto at the moment, pushed 160%.
Yeah, it's a big move. It's a big move. And I think that XRP is going to take a move. I personally looking up towards that 53 cent. I think once we clear this region here, obviously XRP kind of moves on its own. Not on its own per se, but like the market has to kind of be steady, and then XRP does the same thing. It's normally a little bit of a laggard to everything else, and I think we'll have a big green candle or two that take us up towards that range, and that's my personal opinion on what I think XRP is going to do.
I think, I tweeted about it. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find this tweet. In fact, let me try and find it whilst we're here. But I want to speak about the good old BBWP again.
The what?
The bubble.
The bubble.
Don't know if I'm going to be able to find it because I tweeted it.
No, I think you will.
I can't remember what I tweeted actually.
I remember seeing it.
This is all good. There it is. But yeah, so basically when it prints these like blue vertical lines here, kind of indicates that there's a big move coming or is in the process of happening basically within the market. Mm-hmm. Obviously it's not 100% accurate. It does a bit of hit and miss, but more times it does hit than miss. If you go back and add this to your trading views, read it. There's even like a description. If you type into Google what the BBWP on trading view, it gives you a big description in terms of what it means, what it's showing you. But yeah, this is kind of also indicating just in time for CPI, like I put up there, that there's a big move coming in terms of crypto. Mm-hmm. And normally the move is, we're talking 10% plus kind of thing. They're big moves. Sometimes they are like we've experienced yesterday, 7%. So it could have just been that. You don't know. But I think that's obviously just down to CPI. But it's just another thing which is kind of indicating a move. Kind of, are we going to push back up to that 32k range? It could be enough, like a green candle to push us up there. So
yeah, I'd like to see what happens when we start to hit the top of this channel. Like we've got drawn in on both of our charts. Like I'd like to see what happens when we start to hit this range here. That's
gonna give a lot of people confirmation, and that's when you'll see a lot of trades whacked on. I think when we get above that channel, that's what people are waiting for right now. Because they obviously, a lot of people here, just from a bog standard basic TA kind of view, they're going to expect it to put there and look for if it put a short on if they think it's going to drop down. You see a lot of shorts up there. If not, if we get a nice close above there on whatever time frame, we're going to get nice. That'll be enough confirmation to just basically get rid of all this, because there's not really much resistance there until we get to like the 30k range.
10-15%
and I think that could happen potentially within
quick.
Well, obviously we're going to test the top of the channel hopefully within the next week or so.
Yeah, let's see what happens today. Like with the American markets, like because obviously Bitcoin has been moving in correlation with a lot of like equity markets. If the S&P like keeps moving up today, let me take this for retracement off. You can't see it very well. If the S&P keeps moving up, like today, it's going to open here. If it pushes on up out of this range, you could really see a bigger move from Bitcoin, because let's say 2% for the S&P yesterday. Let's say if we use Ethereum for example, a 2% S&P move equated to an 11-12% Ethereum move. You get that again today, it's another 10-11% for Ethereum.
And that's what you need really. And that'd be enough for take us out hopefully out the top of that channel, and then we can really start to see this rally get underway. Like
yeah, that's it.
And that is it. I guess it's just
18.
Still interesting times, still exciting times, still scary times.
Oh, we'll finish with newsletter.
Oh yeah, newsletter is everything's ready. Patreon's ready now, because that's the way we're going to launch it. We're literally just going to post it on the news feed. We're also going to be posting like updates of like, say if we speak about oil, which we spoke about in week 1. Something happens to oil which we want to talk about, we'll post a quick little update on our feed kind of thing.
So it's Patreon.
So obviously you get the newsletter, but you also get updates as well. Just keep everyone in the loop in terms of what we're thinking anyway.
Yeah. Newsletters, we're going to actually release the actual newsletter on Sundays.
Yeah, Sundays is the day.
Every week.
Yeah.
I think we are just trying to work out, we're going to do some sort of introductory offer. We're working out exactly what it is at the minute, but we're looking at something like 50% off for the first like 25 people that sign up, 25% off for the first 100 people after that, and then full price after that, and it's going to be £20 a month.
That's what I mean. The quicker you get involved in it, the better deal you're going to get, and that's one reason is obviously to get a lot of people on board, but another reason is we want to be able to identify those who support us from the start.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Like
so
if you're here,
we get additional benefits for the founders here. So
definitely, if you're here like all the time on our content, we want to give you the best information for the cheapest we can.
100%.
But yeah.
Cheers.
Cheers to that then.
Week 2 is coming out Sunday. Keep an eye for it, and then we'll see you next week on the weekly roundup.
Peace up, A-Town down.